The door slammed shut with a finality that echoed through my soul. And in that moment, I realized my own family had just erased me from their lives because I dared to love men. Little did I know, the old stranger who found me sleeping on a park bench that night would become the father I never had, until his funeral forced the world to confront the truth about the so-called traitor. It was a raw October evening in 2015 outside Chicago, Illinois. I was Ethan Brooks, barely 18, backpack heavy on my shoulders and tears freezing on my cheeks as I stumbled away from the only house I had ever called home. My father's last words still burned. "You're no son of mine, if that's who you are." My mother had turned away without a word. The conservative town we lived in had already whispered about the rumors after I finally confessed I was gay during a family dinner that exploded into chaos. Friends I thought were close suddenly stopped texting. College applications felt pointless now. I wandered for hours until exhaustion dropped me onto a bench in Lincoln Park, the city lights blurring above. Sleep came in broken waves until a gentle hand shook my shoulder. "Son, you can't stay out here. It's not safe. Come with me." The voice belonged to Reginald Thompson, a 70-year-old retired high school literature teacher with silver hair, wire-rimmed glasses, and eyes that carried decades of quiet kindness. He lived alone in a modest two-bedroom house in a quieter suburb after losing his wife to cancer 10 years earlier. That first night, he fed me warm soup, gave me clean sheets, and asked for nothing in return. "Everyone deserves a second chance," he said simply. In the weeks that followed, Reg never pried, but he listened when I was ready. I told him about the slammed door, the way my father's face twisted in disgust, the loneliness that had lived inside me since middle school when I first realized boys made my heart race instead of girls. Reg nodded, poured coffee, and shared stories from his classroom days about students who struggled the same way. He helped me enroll in community college on a partial scholarship. He quietly supplemented, bought me books, and taught me how to budget the small part-time job he helped me land at a local bookstore. Slowly, the knot in my chest loosened. I started sleeping through the night. I laughed again. Reg became the steady rhythm my life had never had, a chosen father who never once made me feel broken. By Christmas, I was helping him decorate a small tree, and for the first time in months, the future didn't feel like a dead end. Yet inside, the old voices still whispered doubts. Was I really worth his kindness? Would the world outside ever accept me? Reg seemed to sense the storm and simply said, "Give yourself time, Ethan. Healing isn't a straight line." Those words carried me into the new year, where I signed up for my first creative writing class and dared to dream I might one day tell my own story. Spring arrived with warmer winds and the first fragile shoots of confidence in my chest. College became my escape and my proving ground. I buried myself in lectures, wrote short stories late into the night at Reg's kitchen table, and slowly made friends with a small circle who didn't flinch when I mentioned my orientation. Reg attended my first public reading at the campus coffee house, clapping louder than anyone when I finished a piece about a boy learning to stand tall. Afterward, he hugged me tight and said, "You're finding your voice, kid. Don't ever let anyone take it again." His pride felt like sunlight after years of shadow. One afternoon, I met Liam at the bookstore where I worked. He was 22, tall with messy dark hair and a quick laugh, studying pre-law at the university. We bonded over the same dystopian novel on the shelf. Coffee turned into long walks along the lakefront, and soon I realized the flutter in my stomach whenever he texted wasn't just friendship. Reg noticed the change in me immediately. "Someone special?" he asked one evening over pasta. I blushed, but nodded, and Reg smiled the way only someone who had lived long enough to understand could. "Love is a gift. Don't hide from it." With his gentle encouragement, I asked Liam out. Our first date was simple, pizza and a walk, but when he reached for my hand under the streetlights, something inside me shifted. For the first time, I felt seen, not just tolerated. Yet the world outside Reg's safe house still tested me. A cousin from my old neighborhood spotted me with Liam and sent my parents a message. The next week, an envelope arrived with a single line in my father's handwriting, "Don't come back." I cried in Reg's arms that night, and he held me like the son he never had. "They're the ones losing out, Ethan. You are building something real here." His words helped, But the rejection reopened old wounds. I threw myself harder into studies and into Liam, who proved patient and kind. Reg's health remained strong, but he started sharing fragments of his past. A close friend from college who disappeared after coming out, the regret that still haunted him. I didn't press. Instead, I focused on the life we were creating together. By summer, I had transferred to the main campus on a better scholarship. Liam and I were officially together, and Reg's house felt like home in every way that mattered. The internal battles quieted, replaced by a growing belief that maybe I could rewrite my story after all. The years blurred in the best way possible. By 2019, I was 22, graduating with honors in English and landing an entry-level job at a small publishing house downtown. Liam had finished law school and started clerking. We rented a tiny apartment together a few blocks from Reg's house, so we could still have Sunday dinners. Those evenings became sacred. Reg cooking his famous chili, Liam and I arguing playfully about books, laughter filling the rooms that once held only silence. Reg watched us with soft eyes and once said, "Seeing you two together heals something in me I didn't know was broken." I never fully understood then what he meant, but I felt the truth of it. Life wasn't perfect. My family's silence weighed on me during holidays. A colleague at work made a snide comment about people like me during a team meeting, and I came home shaking. Liam held me through the anger, and Reg reminded me that every step forward was a victory against the voices that once tried to silence me. I started volunteering at a local LGBTQ youth center, mentoring kids who reminded me of my 18-year-old self. The work gave me purpose and slowly stitched the last cracks in my heart. Reg's own stories grew more frequent. Tales of a brother he lost touch with decades ago, a promise he made long before I was born. I listened without pushing, grateful for the man who had chosen me when blood had not. Then came the first real test of my new strength. Liam received a job offer in Seattle that would mean moving across the country. The thought of leaving Reg terrified me, but he sat us both down and said, "Love means growing, even when it's hard. I'll be right here, and you'll always have a home to come back to." With his blessing, we made the move in 2021. Seattle welcomed us with rain and opportunity. I found work at a larger publisher, Liam thrived at a progressive firm, and we video called Reg every week. Distance didn't weaken our bond. If anything, it made me appreciate him more. I proposed to Liam on a foggy pier one evening, and when he said yes, the first person I called was Reg. His happy tears on the screen were everything. Life felt complete, the old wounds fading into scars I could touch without flinching. Yet somewhere in the back of my mind, I wondered about the shadows Reg still carried, the ones he never fully named. The pandemic hit in 2020 and forced us all to slow down. Liam and I moved back to Chicago temporarily to be closer to Reg, whose health had begun to show cracks. A persistent cough, slower steps. We turned the guest room into a makeshift office and spent evenings playing cards or reading aloud the way we used to. Those months were a gift. Reg's stories deepened. He spoke of a nephew he had once tried to help, a boy whose family turned away when the truth came out. "I made a promise," he said quietly one night, "to be there if anyone in that family ever needed me." I didn't connect the dots then. I was too busy worrying about his breathing, driving him to doctor appointments, and holding Liam's hand through the fear that we might lose the man who had saved me. When vaccines arrived and life reopened, Reg seemed stronger. Liam and I got married in a small ceremony in Reg's backyard under string lights, with only a handful of friends and Reg giving me away. His toast brought tears. Family isn't always blood. Sometimes it's the hand that reaches out when the world walks away. I hugged him so tight, I thought my ribs would crack. The following years brought steady joy. I published my first novel, a story about chosen family that owed everything to Reg, and Liam made partner at his firm. We bought a house with a garden big enough for Reg to visit and plant tomatoes. He came every weekend, slower now, but still sharp, still telling stories. Then the cracks widened. Reg's cough returned worse. Doctors spoke of fibrosis, of time we didn't have. I quit my job to care for him full-time, reading to him when he was too tired to hold the book, cooking the meals he once taught me. Liam supported us without complaint. In quiet moments, Reg would squeeze my hand and say, "You gave me purpose, Ethan. Don't ever doubt that." I pushed down the panic, focusing on making his days bright. The internal voice that once told me I was unworthy had long since gone quiet, replaced by gratitude and love so deep it sometimes hurt. Yet I could feel the story approaching its final chapter, and I wasn't ready to turn the page. Reg's decline was gentle but relentless. By early 2024, he needed oxygen most days. We converted the living room into a comfortable space where he could watch the birds at the feeder and listen to audiobooks I narrated myself. Liam and I took turns staying with him, working from home, so he was never alone. Friends from the old youth center visited, bringing flowers and memories. Reg's eyes lit up every time, but I saw the exhaustion he tried to hide. One rainy afternoon, he asked me to sit. "There's a letter in my desk drawer," he said. "Read it only after I'm gone. Promise me." I promised, heart heavy, and changed the subject to lighter things. The novel I was outlining, Liam's latest court victory. The end came peacefully on a Tuesday morning in May. I was holding his hand when he took his last breath, whispering, "I'm proud of you, son." The house felt too quiet afterward. Liam held me while I cried the kind of tears that come from losing a parent. We planned the funeral together, simple and full of the love Reg had given. I called my parents out of some lingering hope, leaving a message about the service. They didn't respond. On the day of the funeral, the church was filled with former students, neighbors, and the kids I had mentored. I stood at the podium and spoke of the man who had opened his door when the world closed mine. My voice cracked but held. Liam stood beside me, steady as always. After the service, the lawyer asked the small group to stay for the reading of the will. My parents surprisingly appeared at the back, faces tight. The lawyer cleared his throat and began. Reg had left everything to me: the house, modest savings, and a letter addressed to my son, Ethan. But before I could open it, the lawyer played a short video Reg had recorded months earlier. His face filled the screen, tired but clear. "Ethan, if you're watching this, I've gone home. There's something you and your family need to know. I wasn't just a kind stranger. I was your great-uncle, the brother your grandfather disowned when I came out as gay in 1968. They call me the traitor for choosing love over their rules. I promised your grandfather on his deathbed I would watch over any child who faced the same pain. That's why I was there the night you needed me." The room went still. My mother gasped. My father's face drained of color. Reg continued. "The real betrayal was never mine. It was the fear that tore families apart then and tried to tear yours apart now. Forgive them, Ethan, and live fully." Tears streamed down every face, including mine. The man I called father had been blood and love all along, and the traitor labeled the family once whispered about him was their own shame reflected back. The silence after the video stretched until my mother broke it with a sob. "We didn't know," she whispered. "We thought he was just some old man filling your head with ideas." My father stared at the floor, shoulders shaking. For the first time, I saw the weight they had carried. The same prejudice that had destroyed Reg's relationship with his brother now mirrored in how they had treated me. I walked to them slowly. "He forgave you before you even asked," I said, "and I'm learning to do the same." We stood together in that church hall, 3 generations finally seeing each other clearly. No grand reconciliation happened in a single afternoon, but the door that had slammed shut years ago cracked open just enough for light to enter. Liam and I drove home to the house that was now truly mine. We sat on the porch where Reg and I had shared so many evenings, and I opened the letter. It was short: "Live loud, love deeply, and never be ashamed. You are my greatest joy, Dad." I folded it against my heart and looked at Liam, the man who had walked every step beside me. He pulled me close under the same string lights we had used for our wedding, and in that moment the future felt wide open and bright. The journey that began with a slammed door had led me to chosen family, to real love, and to a truth that healed more than it hurt. Reg's sacrifice had broken the cycle, and I would carry his legacy forward. As the sun set over the neighborhood he had loved, I realized some families are born and some are made, but the best ones choose you when you need it most. True or false? Blood family always deserves a second chance, no matter how deep the wounds they caused.